Hey folks, this is Ray here at Bell Metal Forge. Just want to wish y'all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Just out here in the shop this morning, got all the kids in there, they're playing with the toys, and I put most of them together. But anyway, they're having fun. I wanted to come out here in the shop, do a little work. I want to take some of this square spring steel and see if we can't make a square punch. And then when I do that, I've got a piece of steel. I don't know what I've done with it. Let me see if I can find it. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. I got it marked. I'm going to use it to make a nail header, and that's what I'm going to try to make a few nails to go with some of my projects if people want nails to go with it. So if anybody does order something and they would like nails, I'm going to try to provide nails with that product. If not, I'll try to blacken some screws and send with them. But the only thing is, if you're going to mount it on sheetrock, please get you some anchors to put in it, or make sure you find a stud to get it put in there. But that's one for today. We'll get that thing thrown in the forge, and we'll see about getting a square punch done. And then we'll get that nail header done for doing some nails. Getting it straightened on out. Try to see if I can get it straightened out before we lose a lot of that heat. That other piece of steel, when I get it stuck in there, I already got my butcher set up. What we'll do is we'll butcher it. That way it'll put us an angle here, and we can hammer in an angle here, kind of get a little rounded edges instead of a square. And then what we'll do is I'll take it and draw this out, make us a handle for it, and then once that punch is done, later on, I'll take it and use it, go ahead and punch that hole in it. Now keep in mind, when you do these nail holes, or anything like that, nail header, or if you're doing large spikes or large nails, try to make that hole an hourglass. Don't just do it from one side, because if you do, your nails are liable to get stuck in it. Because what you do is you make it the shape you want, whether you want round, square nails, punch your hole from one side, go back, punch your hole from the other side. You always want the bottom side hole a little bit deeper than the top side. That way there's not much in there to grip that nail, and you can get that nail back out. try to get some more heat on that end, and then we'll take it and stick it in the power hammer. Turn you around over here. Hopefully you can see the power hammer when I use it. That right there is made out of steel I-beam and just a couple of supports, leaf spring, electric motor. Made the bearing myself. It's got the foot piece. The heads are railroad track, and so far I'm loving it. It works really well. So pretty tickled with it. But yeah, that's my homemade power hammer. Like I said, works pretty good. I'm actually pretty tickled with it. Give you a little bit of more of a look to it. Had to bend these, got them bolted in. Just some square tubing, a little bit of support there, angle iron, welded in with the steel I-beam. I had, I think it was 20 foot of this, and I still got quite a bit of it left. But you see the leaf spring up there, got it welded in. Got my bracket in the back, goes down. I got it on my plate with my the pulley. Got everything. All this stuff is nothing on here is stuff that I bought. Pretty much everything is what I had laying around the house. The only thing I actually had to buy was the belt. You engage it, pick it up, and it tightens the belt and puts it in gear. Other than that, sure works pretty good. That piece of coil spring started off with roughly about 8 inches of it. I'm gonna pull it out for a second here and get it measured. We're looking at almost 10 inches now that we've drawn out. And then that should give us enough right there. And what we'll do is we'll finish out that square point. Like I said, because this right here is really not a very thick material. This one is just a hair over ½ inch material. Let's see, about hair over ½ inch, about 1 inch thick. For you guys over the pond, I don't know the millimeter size of it. My ruler only does inches. But to my brothers and sisters across the pond, I'm sorry about not putting the millimeters out, but yeah, roughly a little over an inch or ½ inch, and you're right at an inch wide. So I'm not going to need much of that one to be able to go through it, but most of your punches, as long as I got enough to go through most of it, and then if I do larger holes, then I can use it. That's one reason why I'm kind of drawing it out so long. If I hadn't started off with 8 inches, I could have probably started off with 4 and then drawn it out. But at the same time, I'm glad I started off with that. That way I've got enough, because when I do the hot punching, I've got enough to get my hand up away from the material that I'm working with and not burning my hand. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I know a lot of times gloves safety gear is really important, but sometimes when you're switching between one thing to another here in the shop, a lot of times them gloves can be dangerous, especially if you're running it next to a drill press or anything else like that. It'll grab that glove and it'll pull your hand in there, and that's something you don't want. You have to be careful with what you're doing. Please pay attention to what you're doing. Just because I do it, and if you're just starting out, please don't do it. Try to be safe. Figure out a way that works for you, but be safe doing it. You can see here we've got it drawn down to a taper. We started off with 8 inches. We've got another 2 inches onto it. So we'll just finish drawing that point out a little bit. Getting there. That's the only thing about that tool still, even with the power hammer that I got, it still takes a good bit. I mean, even though I don't mind, beating the mess out of that steel, that power hammer still kind of takes it out of it. It takes some of the stress out of your arms. A lot of this stuff really does help if you can afford it. If you can weld and you got some scrap laying around, that's a good way to go. Rather than buying the stuff, you can build it to your specs, to your your specifications, depending on your shop size. A lot of this stuff is so versatile, and if you can weld, fabricate, there's no limit to what you can do. While I'm waiting for that to heat up again, that same piece of spring steel, I can't remember how much length of it I was when I started, but I cut them all about 8 inches, and I've got a few pieces left. But right off the top of my head, I don't know the full length of it. But that right there is a part of it. I did it's not a chisel. It's just a punch for doing, like if I'm doing locks and stuff, and I do the hasp, I can use that for doing the hasp, the part of the lock. I did do a small chisel with it. I've used it a couple times so far. Works really, really good. It seems to be holding up the edge very well. I got my heat treat right. And the other one is I did a punch. One of the guys that I watch on YouTube, John Switzer at Black Bear Forge, he likes to have finger holds on his tools. I kind of followed his example, so I can grip it and hold it. And but I wished I would have drawn this one out a little bit more, and I may go back and revisit that and try to draw it out a little bit more. But this is all made out of the same steel, beveled the striking end. But the only end that's really tempered is the working end. But that's some of the same stuff that's out of that piece of coil spring that I got that's in the forge now. see, we've got a nice taper on it. Is what I'll do is I'll come back, get everything straightened up on it, and then what we'll do is we'll do like a little point on here to get it started, and then as we go in, it'll give us that square hole when we do our punch. And always remember, check your work, make sure it's straight. While it's hot, you can always do your correcting at this point. Always make sure it's straight. And then is what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll take this end right here. It's already square. Then I'll octagon it, and then I'll probably put my finger holds in it. And then, other than quenching, this tool should be done. On the square punches, I want to go ahead and just get a round tip on it. That way it'll get better penetration. And then once it gets in there, then I can, drive it in however deep I need it or however big I need it. That's one reason why I wanted to draw that thing out as long as I did. That way, even if I go to it, I can always draw that thing out up to here. This material that I'm using, like I said, I started off with an 8-inch piece, but it's roughly just a hair over ½ inch is what it is. I have no clue what that coil spring came off of. Buddy of mine found it and he brought it to me. Like I said, I've used it for a couple of those pieces and I still got a few pieces left. So, but it's working out really good. And we'll get this thing flipped around. We have to go with a different set of tongs after I flipped it. And we'll get this end, get them corners shaped up a little bit, and then I'll put finger holds in it, and then we'll get that end cut off and get a little bevel around it, and then she should be good to go other than tempering it. But that tool steel that I'm using, I had already tested a piece of it, and it does quench well in water. So it is a water hardening steel. Pretty much everything I've dealt with so far is either water hardening or oil hardening. You can go out and buy that expensive stuff, the Quench 50. You can buy that if you want to. Now you can use motor oil, used motor oil. But make sure you do not use that used motor oil for anything that you're going to have as far as food preparation goes. If you're making knives, stuff like that, do not use it for that. You can use it for if you're making swords, hardening swords, some tools, just things just in general around your shop. Anything that you go like latches, hinges, you can use it for that. Gives it a really nice dark color. But I prefer you can take this cooking oil is a lot of what I use is either canola oil, vegetable oil, any of that stuff works really good because some of the knives that I've done, they're going to be used for cooking, food preparation, like that. So I'd rather use the cooking oil for that part. The 1095, that's a good steel for kitchen knives. I've made several of those, even just hunting knives. You're still using it around food preparation. So just keep in mind, if you're starting out, don't use motor oil for everything. Everything's got a purpose. Some of your steels are going to use water, some of your steels are going to use oil, and some steels they're going to take air hardening. A lot of that stuff I'm still learning. As far as most of it goes, I still know the water and the oil. So that's kind of what I'm sticking with right now. I'm going to chamfer these edges a little bit. Try to straighten this end out right here. We'll knock those edges off and because I don't like sharp edges on my tools, and that's what I did with these. Was I just went through and knocked the edges of them off. That way it's a smoother feel in your hand. So that's pretty much what I did with those. I apologize for my light up here, it keeps going out. I got a bad ballast in it. So the light gets hot or the ballast gets hot in it and then it just cuts off. Fixing to change the lights out to the shop to some LEDs. Always try to keep your tools straight, especially the punches and the chisels, because if they're not straight, you will freaking know it. The bad thing about it is if you've got ADHD, you will notice this stuff if it ain't straight. Just round those corners off, that way you have nothing sharp in your hand. It really does just feel better in your hand when you got the corners shaped a little bit. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'll just let this thing cool. I'll get my stamp put in it and let it cool off. And I'll shake this end a little bit. I got to trim it off. I don't have anything I can hot rasp it with right now, so I'm just going to let it cool off. Tool's pretty much done for today, and then the next video should be us being able to use it on our nail maker or the nail header. But I really appreciate y'all watching this for today. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, and I really appreciate it.